So we covered win your money back, free giveaways, decoy offers, buy X get Y free, pay less now or pay more later. Those are the 5 main attraction offers in the book. And you, Mr. Video Training attendee, get a bonus number 6, free with consumption. The reason that this one I pulled out of the book is because I think it required the most skill to use and it was the most amorphous in nature. So it's the most complex. But it is one of the most used things that people have in marketing. So let's dive into it. Now, this one, same 5, how I learned it. So I went to an event for my gym to learn marketing stuff. And I went to a side stage to see one of the presenters because they had like 3 stages going at any time. So I saw this guy present and he did an entire pitch deck, but then right where you transition to the offer, he just did it because no one was allowed to pitch at this event. And so he said, hey, if you want to find out more, you can just go, over there and whatever. And so the thing is they weren't allowed to sell, but at that moment I wanted to buy. And I learned later that that thing was called a webinar. And I thought that was really cool. And so that was more or less how I found out that I could attend something for free and then want to buy something afterwards. So I call this free consumption to upsell. So the reason this is a little bit different is that the promise of the attraction offer is to get people and then liquidate the acquisition. Because there's a delay here, it was loosey-goosey. Not that you can't liquidate within 30 days, so you can. Again, this is why I was like, anyways, it's a bonus for you guys. All right, so let's get in the description. So I'll show this image real quick. So this is like, a lot of times the consumption thing is 20 minutes long to 5 days long. So it could be one free video, it could be a PDF, it could be an audio, it could be a live event, it could be a workshop, anything that someone's going to consume a ton that then they go, oh, this thing's free. They learn a bunch. They say, oh, I can do this. And then they put money down. That's how it works. Fundamentally, you're selling or giving away a selling tool. Now, effective selling tools also provide value. Bad selling tools are just pitches. Don't do that. Let's dive in. So you give the free thing that teaches and provides value. It breaks beliefs that most people have around that particular thing. And so the more knowledgeable you are about your customer or your prospects, the more you can systematically break their beliefs around the opportunity that you have or whatever service you provide that people get hung up on. So think about this as like FAQs on steroids. And you want to make an offer that solves their next concern, or have embedded CTAs or calls to action to take the next steps in the process. By the way, if you're watching this massive video training and you want to scale your business, we're pretty good at it. And so one, if you're a really big business, you can go to acquisition.com and hit the sell button, and we'd love to look at your business to invest in. If you're a smaller business, call it less than 10 million a year, then hit the scale button, and we'd love to help you scale from $1 million a month to beyond $1 million a month. That's an embedded CTA. That's how that works. All right. And this works for books, webinars, VSLs, events, workshops, video trainings like this, anything where you get people's undivided attention. Now, what this does is the process reverse engineers trust. The best way for someone to know that they're going to get value from you when they pay you is to give them value before they pay you. Mind blowing, I know. And so I believe that education is at the core of advertising. It's the core of marketing. It's that you help people shift their beliefs around something so that they make a decision to buy. And so the amount of time that you need is in direct proportion to the price of the thing you sell, how cold the audience is, and what that price is relative to their buying power. So for example, if I'm selling consumers, if I have a $20 thing, I might be able to sell that in a 7-second ad, direct to purchase. If I sell a $7,000 thing, I might also be able to sell that off of a 30-second ad to a $50 million a year business owner. So it depends. It's the price relative to their buying power. But if you're selling a $500 thing, if it's a physical product, maybe you can get it off of an ad. Most likely above that, you start having to add in phone sales and things like that in order to close deals. Now, to be clear, it is my belief that every customer needs a certain amount of information to buy. And so Tesla, for example, sells their cars on the internet and you can buy the car online. And so with enough brand goodwill and enough people that are aware of the products and the reviews that you've had, the word of mouth, you can facilitate a $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 plus sale with 0 salespeople. But for every person that opts in on the Tesla site, if they also had 1,000 people calling all the people who didn't follow through with the purchase, they would make even more money. And so the idea is that marketing gets as many people over the line as you can. And for everybody who's not over the line, sales fills the gaps. But it's not that sales and marketing are different. They are the same continuum. And so this free consumption thing is basically just zooming more people along. Think about it like microwaving the prospect. So it's like in 2 days, you go from, I don't know who this guy is, to I absolutely trust them. And so I learned this from some interview I heard from, this sounds bad, but a guy who had a Ponzi scheme for investments. But I love understanding what they do for persuasion because they use great skills for evil. We want to use those great skills for good. And so he found that he could get someone to invest many, many millions of dollars with him within 4 hours. And I thought that that was fascinating. And again, it depends on the prospect. Who are we talking to, right? If you don't have $1 million, then you would have no idea. But it really depends on who you're talking to. All right. So I like to use this analogy of the bigger the plane, the longer the runway. And so if you want to sell a really expensive thing relative to what someone has in terms of money, you're going to need longer in order to earn their trust. People don't sell timeshares off of a free ebook. They do by telling them to fly down for a cruise for 7 days. And at the end of the 7 days, they get them to buy all sorts of stuff, right? Because after that period of time, they trust you. So that is the description. That is how it works. That's why we do it. Now, let me give you some examples. So this was a really common one that happens in the chiropractor space. So they have the diabetic dinners, neuropathy, XYZ dinners. They give these free dinners away. So sometimes they do steak dinners, right? And so what they do is they have a 90-minute presentation during a 3-hour dinner that sells a $50 to $100 consult, which sounds like, why would you waste that time? After they come in for the consult, they then sell them a $5,000, $10,000 year-long health and wellness program with supplements and nutrition protocols to go with it. And so the benchmarks there are you convert 25% of the room into the $50 to $100 thing, and then you convert a third of the people who show up for the appointment into the $5,000 to $10,000 thing. So you do the math there. It's basically you're converting somewhere in the neighborhood of like 10-ish% of the people who show up for the dinner fundamentally end up buying the expensive thing. So if you have 100 people show up for the dinner and you sell 10 at 10K, you make 100 grand from a dinner. This is super common in the education space. So there's these 3 to 5 day challenges, these virtual summits, things like that. And so these are, day 1 you give, day 2 you give/ask, day 3 you repitch/give. That is the very standard structure. And so in the challenges structure, it's give, pitch, repitch with proof. If you have a very high ticket price, you can push people to a phone call from the 5-day thing to get someone to finalize the transaction, get details from a salesperson. And so the goal of these challenges, these events, these multi-day things, these dinners is to break the core beliefs of the prospect while you deliver on the tactical promise that you made at the beginning and or the headline of the promotion you had. The benchmark that I have, if it's virtual, is that you convert 2 to 5% of people who opt in. Not who schedule show everything down, but just if you're saying, I got 1,000 opt-ins for my virtual thing, if I can convert 2% of those people at a expensive price, then I will offset the cost. Now, if you're like, wait, mine's not cheap, it depends by market. But if you're going really mass market, really cheap opt-ins, it's 2 to 5%. If you're in a super niche, it should be way higher than that. That's the worst numbers you can have. It only gets better if you have more brand, more warm audience, and more niche down in terms of what you're selling and who you're selling to. So this is an example of something might look like. So on Monday, and again, you can compress this. Like you could make this into 1 day rather than 5 days. It all just like this is basically the stuff that's going to get covered typically in a process. This could be a 90-minute video. Everything's just about how much and how many examples you're going to give. So Monday, it's like our story, why it's like your story, why we can help, what we're going to cover, and our perspective shift about how your approach to solving problems is different, how our approach is different than what you've had before. Tuesday, it's going to be second valuable nugget of value, which is regarding their ability or insecurity. It's like, what are they most afraid of? What are the thing that they're most concerned about? The next one is going to be the second thing that they're also concerned about. This is typically an excuse outside of themselves. So that's like, one is, I don't think I can do it. Something is, this other thing is going to block me from doing it. All right. The next one is going to be, you mentioned your core offer is going to be coming the next day. And then of course you pitch and then you repitch with some sort of Q&A, which you add more proof in. That's when you invite past success stories on, you do mini case studies, and then you restack the offer. All right. So this is fundamentally how it works. Now, if you're a beginner, this is flashing Vegas lights. Okay. So by the time you're seeing this, we should have done a big school launch for people. This is more or less what I teach all the beginners to do. And you're like, wait, I thought it was complex. If you want to do it at scale, it's complex. If you want to do it one-on-one, it's the simplest way to sell. So hear me out. You could do this with one person at a time. And so you could say, hey, instead of calling it a 3 to 5 day challenge, say, I will spend 5 days with you. Doesn't have to be full days. It can be 5 1-hour sessions. You get 5 hours of my time to help you get this goal. Insert goal. On the first day, you're going to frame the fact that you're going to make an offer at the end. You say, hey, before you get going, is it okay if at the end of this whole thing, I just make you an offer of what it would look like to work with me long term? If they say no, then don't do the rest of it, right? But during that process, you should understand what their goals are, what the reasons that the obstacles have gotten in the way for them, and basically all the friction that they've had to deal with in the past. So this is basically like a closure framework. Clarify where they're labeling the problem, over their past pain, and then sell them the vacation being what we're going to accomplish together in the next 5 days. Explain away whatever their concerns are, reinforce decision, and then you frame the sale. All right. Sorry that was fast. You can watch it again on slow. That's what you would do on the first day. The next 2 to 3 days, whatever it is, you then overcome the main beliefs that they're going to have about the things that are going to stop them. You're going to show them one-on-one. And at the end, you say, hey, ask for a referral. Anybody else so you can recap it. Hey, was this great? Then you can ask for other people who would like to go through this free thing with you. And then finally, you can make your offer. Hey, remember that thing I told you about again? Do you mind if I tell you about it now? Now, if you're a super beginner, you can just ask them, what do you think working with me for $3,000 per year would look like to you? Then they can tell you the offer. And then you can say, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that, right? If you have no idea, if you have 20 of those conversations, you're going to have a pretty decent idea, and then you can start making the offer. So this is the easiest way, because if you suck at sales, it's way easier to sell when you spend 5 hours with someone building value. This is exactly what I did when I started my first business. Is I told people to donate $500 to $1,000 to the charity of their choice, and I'd work with them for 12 weeks. Those 12 weeks was one time a week for the 12 weeks, and then I, pitched them at the end for staying more stuff. Now, I learned now I should have pitched them halfway through, and I probably could have done it in 6 weeks. Lots of things I learned. And so here, there's just X amount of time you need to spend, and you can microwave it with the prospect. You can just do it in 5 days rather than 5 weeks by just compressing the time period. So these might be headlines for whatever your free thing is. So it's like free find your perfect product entrepreneurship challenge. So you could say, if you're a beginner, hey, I'll spend 5 hours with you to help you find your perfect product. What happens when someone has the perfect product? They're going to want to learn how to advertise. They're going to learn how to put it on a website. They're going to learn how to manage inventory and all the other things that go with it. When you solve one problem, you create others, which you can solve in exchange for money. And they will believe you because you fulfilled your first promise. If you're a marketing agency, it could be free 5-day, find your niche agency accounts. Like if I was trying to help people start agencies, a lot of people are like, who do I sell to? It's like, all right, by the end of the 5 days, you're going to know exactly who you're going to sell to. What else are you going to do? You're going to learn how to generate leads. You're going to learn how to sell. You're going to learn how to price, all these other things. And so each of these things, a lead magnet, fundamentally what this is a big lead magnet that gets people to opt in. And because it's in a short time period, people like the fact that it's fast, they're going to get this result. You can increase their perceived likelihood of achievement by saying it's one-on-one. You can add scale by adding technology and virtual summits and more automations and things like that. And at the max leverage version of this is you run these things on autopilot every hour, and everything is automated and personalized to the person. That's what the businesses that do $100 million a year are doing. But if you're starting out, you don't have to worry about show-up rates because you can just text the people and see what time they want to meet. All right, you can make this very easy. Weight loss, a plateau buster. You basically walk them through a 5-day plateau buster, what they need to do for eating and drinking and whatever else. Addiction, 5 days to substance-free challenge. Pain, 5-day pain release. Life coach, 5 days to get unstuck. It doesn't matter whatever it is. You can usually deliver a tremendous amount of value in 5 hours of time, or 90 minutes times 5 of time, and this works. So the reason, if you're like, man, why didn't you put this in the book? Because it's really long and there's a lot of stuff to it. All right. And so webinars are an example of this. It's just compressed into 90 minutes. So instead of, day 1, day 2, day 3, like day 1 is origin story, which you just put in the first 15 minutes. Day 2 is the big obstacle that most people are going to encounter. You put that in the next 15 minutes. You basically chunk your way down to 60 minutes, 45 to 60 minutes being the kind of the value piece. And then the next 30 being the pitch with the stack and everything else. All right, so the benchmark for most webinars is converting 10% of the people who show up live. All right, strategy call. This is one where I want to be really clear. A lot of people have kind of butchered the idea of a strategy call because all sales calls are just considered strategy calls now. But you can get this by telling people that you will not ask for their card on the phone. And this works very sexily if you mean it. And then what you do is you just use your qualification call as the strategy call. And so you do qualify what problems they have, and you should be able to provide value in terms of clarifying what next things are constraining their business, whatever it is. If it's a B2B offer, it's B2C offer, it's what thing is preventing them from hitting their goals. And at that point, you would then be able to reasonably and ethically qualify them for a sales call. But now at that point, you have provided value, and then you can make the offer just being hop on a call with the sales guy. Now, you wouldn't say that. You would say, this is John. John's amazing. He cured cancer, and you also have cancer. Don't do any of that. But you get the idea. You want to edify the salesman and say that he's helped people just like them get to where they want to go. And you want to ideally tie that to people who've done that recently using this specific system. And for this, you want to convert 25% or more of the people who hit on these calls. All right, important points. So the 3 beliefs that we always have to overcome with every single sale, no matter what, is people point to circumstances. They say life should be easy, and it isn't, and they get upset about it. And so it's like, I don't have the money, which is circumstance thing, because it means that they're not being resourceful. They say, I don't have the time, when really it just means that they're not prioritizing it. Everybody has the same amount of time. And so we have to get them to take the finger of blame and point it towards themselves and say, it's up to me. It's not about my circumstances. It's about my ability to be resourceful, my ability to prioritize, right? And so that is what belief number 1 you have to break for people is it's not the outside world, it's me. All right. The next one is other people should treat me the way I want them to be treated, and everyone should do what I tell them to. That doesn't happen. And so we have to say, you are actually the one responsible for your own life. And so it's not your business partner, it's not your spouse, it's not your dog, it's not your grandma, it's not your employees. It's you who are the one who are in control. And so instead of asking for permission, you need to be asking for support. And so that's fundamentally the belief that we have to help them break in this thing, that other people are going to stop them. So if someone says, oh, I wouldn't be able to do this thing because of my kids, we have to basically reorient that and say, hey, this is actually how it's going to help your kids. Hey, I can't do this because of my spouse. Actually, it's going to help your relationship with your spouse. We have to reframe what they say, and that would be the second big belief. The third big belief is going to be self, which is, I can't do this. I'm afraid, right? What happens if I fail? And so we want to get them to confront the decision, give them the variables that it takes to make a logical decision, and make them feel that this is actually a decision that is not rushed at all. It's something that they've been making a long time ago. Today is just the first day they're taking action on it. And so when breaking beliefs, you want to teach concepts, not tactics. This is a big mess up that most people do when they have this free value thing. The reason is that everyone gets value from concepts. Only executors get value from tactics. So, summary. Learn how to break the beliefs, which, by the way you break a belief is you say, this is what you used to believe. This is why it's wrong. This is what's right. This is why it's right. Proof. 5 steps. This is what you believe. This is why it's wrong. This is what's right. This is why it's right. Proof. So provide excessive value, teaching concepts that underpin whatever you sell. This is an education process to create your ideal prospect and ward off people who are not your ideal prospect. So if you get people in and you're like, oh, I'm losing people. If they're the right people, that's bad. If they're the wrong people, that's good. And these can be added to any sales process in any business to increase close rates and the average ticket sold. And so there's a zillion ways to do this. So I'll explain it like this, is that once you can create educational products, if you will, that you would give away for free, you can insert them. So if you have multiple sales in a process, between call 1 and call 2, you can give them a video. If you want them to watch something prior to getting on a call, before call 1, you can force them to watch a video. You can have someone watch 5 videos before they talk to you. Like all of this is just how much friction do we want? How little friction do we need to provide to get people to buy? We want to have as much as needed, but no more. And there you go. I already made my CTA for you, but you can go to acquisition.com if you want to grow your business. But that's my cutesy way of doing it. That being said, that completes free with consumption and our attraction offers section. And now we move on to upsell offers.